I think we've all been wrong about which ending is canon in Security Breach, and I think that's what the Ruin teaser poster is trying to tell us. Specifically, I think we're mistaken on what exactly is going on during this game. Or at least, most of us, myself included, have been committing a cardinal sin in FNAF theorizing. Trusting literally anything. So slices, put on your aprons, and let's bake ourselves a theory. First, let's gather our ingredients. What are the endings of Security Breach? Now, I understand that this is some highly tread ground, so I'll just do a quick overview. The worst and most... It's just me, Mark. The worst and most common ending is found by surviving until 6 AM and escaping out of the front doors, at which time you see Gregory flee the establishment by himself, only to be killed or captured by Vanny shortly after. Two more endings can be found by trying to leave through the fire escape or the loading dock. The first granting you an ending where Vanny and Freddy go careening off the Pizzaplex, revealing Vanny to look identical to Vanessa. The loading dock instead shows Gregory committing several crimes, but him and Freddy do happily drive off into the sunset. The next two endings revolve around Vanny, and are only accessible if you find the Vanny den during your playthrough, at which leaving the building prompts a chase to her hideout. You can either choose to kill Vanny, mourn the death of Freddy, and leave, or if you've played the previous two Princess Quest games throughout your playthrough, you can instead play the third machine here, beat it, and seemingly free Vanny from Glitchtrap's influence, freeing Vanessa. This is one of the harder endings to get, not made any easier by the fact that the Princess Quest games aren't very fun. Frankly, they're not great games, unlike the sponsor of today's video, Raid Shadow Legends. Do you want to play a fun game on your phone but you're broke like me? Do you have trouble deciding what to play? Well, luckily for you, there happens to be a free, amazingly high quality game on the app stores right now, Raid Shadow Legends. You can be spoiled for choice, because Raid has over 600 champions to choose from. Each of those champions come from different factions with history spread throughout the diverse world of Talaria, one of the most interesting factions being the High Elves. Little known fact about me, I love historical drama in a fantasy setting, so not being able to tell who the good guys are is really interesting to me. And in Raid, they're doing just that. The High Elves may claim that they helped the humans form into a civilization, and they may boast that they helped the world after the fall of the Lizardmen Empire. But did they? Can we trust anything they've said? After all, when Surath, the Lord of Darkness, convinced a bunch of elves to turn evil, a lot of their country went along with it. There was a whole civil war about it that nearly destroyed their own country. But to be fair, it didn't, and they are still around the world of Talaria. Speaking of factions, Raid just released a new faction, the Sylvan Watchers, packed with awesome champions. They've got Ents, they've got Druids, they've got Fays, they've even got Forest Elves. They're all here and I can't wait to summon some. If that's not enough, Raid's got a full lineup of events with a new season of the Forge Pass, where you can obtain some of the most powerful equipment ever seen in the game. Not to mention, for all the Amazon Prime members out there, you can get some exclusive loot right now. I've legitimately played this game a lot, and honestly, now is one of the best times to get into the game. If you click my link in the description or scan this QR code, you'll get bonuses worth $30, which is something I could really use. It gets you Rector Drath, a free epic champion, 200,000 silver, 1 energy refill, 1 XP boost, and 1 ancient shard. So you can summon some champions the moment you get in the game. This offer only lasts for the next 30 days for new players. So thanks again Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring today's video, and go summon some champions. Anyway, there's one more ending we haven't mentioned yet, the Afton ending. Frankly, the hardest one to get. Instead of leaving or going after Vanny, turn back into the Pizzaplex. Finish the half of the game that you didn't finish in your first playthrough, and go underneath Roxy Raceway. You unlock a secret ending where you face off against Burntrap and the Blob. After some time, the building begins to collapse, and the unlikely pair hightail it out of there. The question is, which ending is canon to the DLC? Now, I've tackled this question on a previous video, but I think I got it wrong. We came to the conclusion that it had to be the Afton ending. After all, this is the only ending where we physically see the Pizzaplex crumbling to the ground. One ending shows the Pizzaplex falling into ruin, and the DLC is called Ruin, and shows the Pizzaplex falling into ruin. Like bada bing bada, that's the ending. But is that true? I don't think so anymore. Why? Well, let's mix our ingredients and see what kind of theory comes out. What endings could possibly get us to a point where the Pizzaplex is in ruin? Well, like I stated, the Afton ending is top contender. After all, it's the only ending in which we physically see the Pizzaplex collapsing. So that's a strong argument, but it's not open and shut. I mean, look at the state of the underbelly of this place. As I stated before, it's likely that the Pizzaplex was going to fall anyway. At least with enough agitation it would. Agitation like we see in the fire escape ending. Looking at this ending, Freddy lights the place ablaze. If the whole building is on fire, then it would definitely become unstable. unstable and possibly collapse. Fires collapse well-made, well-constructed buildings all the time, let alone giant malls that are built on top of sinkholes and expansive dump caves. So, 2 possible endings. What about the others? Well, admittedly, we have less proof to use here. Technically, you could argue any of them if you assume 2 things. First, the building could fall due to any serious agitation, and second, Vanny could be impersonating Gregory on the monitors. Both are possible. I mean, Vanny has probably been recording video and audio of Gregory the whole time he's been there, so playing that on a monitor or playing it through a Fazwatch isn't out of the realm of possibilities. But if either of those 2 things are correct, then suddenly every ending is possible. Even the least likely ending, the van ending where Gregory and Freddy are long gone, could be possible, because Gregory doesn't need to be there at all. Vanny could just be impersonating him. So Mr. Hippo could be as canon as Willie is old, but probably not. Okay, so if that methodology isn't helpful, what if we use the stars? Well, then you would assume the more stars, the more canon. The only ending I can find that has 3 stars is the good Vanny ending, in which you do all 3 arcade machines and save her. But then Gregory, Freddy, and Vanny, now Vanessa— Mark, I need that. Mark, I need— twice. But then Gregory, Freddy, and Vanny are all outside of the Pizzaplex and safe. Suddenly, Burntrap doesn't have any allies, and he needs one. It's why Glitchtrap made Vanny in the first place. I don't think this wrinkly old man could orchestrate all of this by himself. So that methodology has to be thrown out too. What can we even use to decipher? We have this poster, but what can we trust about it? Well, there is one key detail that could help us. Look to the left. Chica's there. Not Monty. Not Roxy. Chica. Out of all the animatronics they could have shown in the background of this poster, they chose Chica, specifically with a melted beak. Why is this important? When you do the Chica boss fight and push her into the trash compactor, she loses her beak. Her face just becomes a large hole that she just glitches noises out of. So if she loses it here, how's it back? At first, a lot of us just assumed Steelwool made a mistake here, or they just retconned it because it looked cool to give her a beak and they gave her a beak. But is that true? What if it wasn't a mistake? What if this was an intentional inclusion to point us to what ending could possibly be leading into the Ruined DLC? All we have to do now is figure out which ending keeps Chica intact, but could lead to the collapse of the Pizzaplex, and then we have it. Now, right away, this strikes out the Afton ending. The only way to get there is with the Monty upgrade and the Chica upgrade. And if you have the Chica upgrade, Chica's destroyed. So it can't be the Afton ending. And because it can't be the Afton ending, we have to assume that the Pizzaplex collapses no matter what. So all other endings are on the table now. What about the other endings? Well, technically, you can reach every other ending just by going through Monty. Get the camera, finish the game, and leave Chica unscathed. However, the major issue with that is that it's optional. It's the one major choice you get in the entire game. Of all the things you can choose to do, the biggest choice is if you destroy Chica or Monty. And the fanbase is pretty 50-50 there. Presumably, the DLC takes place after the main game, and if the player destroys Chica in the main game and then moves on to the DLC and her beak is back all of a sudden, that creates a weird inconsistency. It kind of breaks the immersion. So Steelwool would need to guarantee that Chica stays intact for the ending that leads to this DLC. For this design of Chica to make sense, the game needs to make sure that there is an ending where Chica is not harmed. But then what would that be? None of the endings we know leave Chica intact, at least definitively. At the time, that's where I stopped thinking about it and assumed Steelwool made a mistake. But I don't think they did, because there is an ending that makes sense. One more ending. The ending we've all seen and played but haven't been talking about. The ending where we lose. Every time you get caught by an animatronic, every time Vanny catches you, every time you fall into the pit, the game ends. Now, we don't see what happens to Gregory. It just cuts to black. It's a safe assumption that he's dead, but it's an assumption. And I'm not trying to make an ass out of you and me. Is he actually dead after he's caught? Well, let's pop our mixture into the oven and see what kind of horrors rise. What if the Ruined DLC takes place after the true bad ending of Security Breach? The ending where we make a mistake. After all, we're just playing as a child. They wouldn't be perfect at this. Most adults aren't perfect at this. What if she just doesn't kill me here? I think we're fine.
Your family is looking for you. Well, No way we die.
One of the animatronics or Vanny gets you, and we cut to black. Maybe even specifically when you're locked in the Lost and Found. Conveniently, there's a present with a screwdriver that lets us escape. That could be a game mechanic. There could be an ending possible where that screwdriver isn't there, and we get stuck there and Vanny gets us. Regardless, Gregory is caught and passes out. Or if he's Gregbot, like you Gregbot truthers believe, he shuts down from being overloaded by the stimuli, kind of like strings and pop goes. Then, Vanny takes him, brings him down the elevator shaft, the one we are explicitly told can only go down one more time, and takes us all the way down to Burn Trap. Once she gets there, an experiment begins, but the building has taken too much of a toll and begins to collapse. Whether due to the blob being agitated at Gregory's presence like it is if you walk past in the game, or something else. Eventually, Gregory wakes up in a collapsed, ruined pizzaplex with only a flashlight and his Fazwatch. He tries calling for help on it, but Freddy isn't responding. However, eventually someone does, a girl outside the pizzaplex, and she says that she can help you, which is right where the Ruin DLC starts. I feel really good about this actually. It could explain why Chica looks like this and still keep all of the endings of the game possible, and we don't have to just assume Steel Wool made a mistake. Now, this theory just goes over how the DLC starts. If you're curious about what I think happens during it, I go into that in this theory. As always, shout out to the best patrons, the Toasted Slices, Emberisk, Zenith, Tommy Woodchard, Raven Eris, Charlie Bean, Lovey Puppy, Stormachow, Anvil Pro 100, and Just BKZ. And until next time, as always, stay toasty, Slices.